Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om. We'll continue our journey of understanding Upanishads and Katha Upanishad, which is continuing, and we'll start with second adHyAya, first vallI, sixth shloka. यह पूर्वं तपसो जातमद्भ्यः पूर्वमजायत गुहां प्रविश्य तिष्ठन्तयो भूतेभिर्पश्यत एतद्वै तत्. So these words etadvai tat, that is being repeated over and over in this vallI, which points to that element. We cannot say element, but just for our understanding, the element that is Brahma or Brahman, and which is Supreme Being or Supreme Self. And in these shlokas, the attributes or characteristics of Brahman are mentioned. So we'll continue with that. Now, what is said here is, who is born of ancient austerities, Purvam Tapaso, who was created before water, Apaha, who enters the deepest cave within and stands established there, who is seen within the five elements. This indeed is that. So this is kind of Genesis, creation, how the world came into existence. This is briefly mentioned here. So first, tapaso, who is doing the tapa? Brahman. And tapa does not mean the way we do the tapas. Tapas mean the Brahman thought of creating, and that thought, that whole process is tapa. And because of that tapa, the next is water. So something was created before, not jala type water, but it is called apaha. All the elements were in liquefied form. So that's called the first water, apaha. And before that, something came into existence. And that existence, what we can say is, it's the first sakara form, the first form of Brahman. Maybe it was sound, it was light, it was something which is not said here right away, but some other Upanishads, they talk about first the sound was there, Om. So Om came into existence, and then from that sound, light came into existence, and that light, the next stage is everything in liquefied format. So that is jala, water. And who enters the deepest cave within. So it is said at multiple places, including Bhagavad Gita, that everything is pervaded by Krishna. So Brahman, whatever entity that was first came into existence, pervaded all the elements, all the atoms, all the particles, and that is kind of cave within. If we look at a structure of atom, there is a centered nucleus, right? That nucleus is kind of a cave, because that structure contains neutrons and protons. If we go deeper, even protons, neutrons, they are made up of quark particles or subatomic particles. So these are the natural steps going infinitesimally smaller and smaller. So we keep dissecting, and we find that this is like a cave kind of structure. So within that cave, the first element, the first thing that came into existence, pervaded all the elements and stands established there. So it is present, it is still present. It used to be in all the particles in past. It will be present in all the future particles or future elements that are Panch Mahabhuta, everything made up of all the Mahabhutas. And In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is said to be adHibhuta, which is beyond Mahabhuta. So the one that enters all the bhutas is adHibhuta. 7th shloka. या प्राणेन संभवत्यदितिर देवतामयी गुहां प्रविश्य तिष्ठन्तीया भूतेभिर्व्यजायत एतद्वैतत्. Who is to life breath, which is prana, what Aditi, mother of all gods, is to the gods, who enters the deepest cave within and stands established there, who was born with the 5 elements, this is indeed that. Now, the more attributes, life, breath. We say that whatever we breathe in is air, and in that air there is prana vayu, oxygen. But oxygen is not the element that gives us life. If we take a sculpture, a stone, or something made up of metals, and we inject electrons meaning oxygen particles, and think of it interacting electronically and expect that it will get life. No, it will not get life because of just the oxygen atoms. Even though it is called pranavayu, it is just the carrier. So that carrier carries something, and that something is prana, and that prana is what the representation of the Panch Mahabhuta, adhibhuta of Panch Mahabhuta in all the life beings, all the living beings, not even animate objects, but inanimate objects like mountains, like stones, all the planets, stars, everything has that prana energy. We can call it energy in our terms, but it is beyond energy. It is something that is avyakta, which is not manifested. So we cannot right away pinpoint to something considering that it is prana or life tron or life breath or life particle. No, we cannot perceive it. It is beyond our dimension. So that is that Brahman. And what Aditi is to the gods? Aditi is said to be mother of all the gods, right? Now Aditi in physical terms, many a times Prithvi, the earth, mother earth, is called Aditi. But if we look at the meaning of Aditi, Diti is which contains light, and Aditi meaning beyond the entity that contains the light, and from there emanates light. So Aditi is in that sense mother of all the gods. Now who are the gods? All the 5 elements, and actually the elements are more than 5. In multiple places it is said that there are 8 elements, 5 bhutas, 5 elements that we all know of: earth, water, fire, air, and space. So these are basic elements which are physical in nature. But mind, mana, buddhi, intellect, and ahankara, that notion of self, that I exist, these 3 are also considered mahabhuta. So there are total 8 mahabhutas, and these mahabhutas, their interaction creates multiple entities, and those entities are considered devas, gods. We always hear that there are 33 crore gods and goddesses, or some say 33 koti or types of gods. We'll see in adHyAya Upanishad, it is greatly explained in that Upanishad that who are all these gods and their attributes and how they are considered one and expressed in multiple ways. So that is all mentioned in adHyAya Upanishad. So all these gods, they come from something that is unmanifested energy or subtle energy that we cannot perceive via our dimensions. So that is Aditi, and that is mother of all the gods. Eighth shloka. Aranyor nihito jata veda ghabar iva subruto garbhinirbihi dive dive idyo jagruvad bhir vishmad bhir manurshe bhirignaha etadvaitat. The fire that exists hidden between two sticks, like the well guarded fetus within a pregnant woman, such is the fire within man. This fire is to be worshipped every day by wakeful seekers who offer sacrifices. This indeed is that. Now we are talking about Jata Veda Agni. So Jata Veda, that word itself says that this is the Agni that resides in everyone, which is omnipresent and which knows everyone. Because if something resides in everything, and if that entity is kind of aware of what is happening around it, it is an observer or whatever you want to call it. So if it is that, that is Jata Veda. So Agni is Jata Veda, and that Agni resides in everyone, not only human beings or animals or birds or living beings, but even this mat, this tile, or everything around us, chairs, everything contains that fire. Now if we study physics, it says that there is at least some temperature in all the objects that cannot be minus 273 degrees Celsius, 0 degree Kelvin, right? It cannot be. If it is, then there is no, it has no interaction with this universe. So if there is some temperature, that means there is some warmth, there is some energy in every object, and that energy can be considered as fire, even though it does not have flame, but it is fire. For our purposes, because it represents fire element out of Panch Mahabhuta. So everything that is temperate, that has temperature, is considered to represent fire, the Agni, out of 5 Panch Mahabhutas. Now if it is there, that means that fire or that element provides opportunity for all the objects to interact. Even though we are not aware, there are many things happening at cellular level, there are many things happening at atomic level. We are not aware. It's not our fault, but this is how the nature of existence is, that there are many things happening around us. We just see the result. See, our body, if it does not feel good, there is a fever. Now how does that fever come into existence? There is some interaction happened within body, some elements they interacted, and that created higher temperature. So it is within us, but we are not aware of that process. We just see the result, that okay, fire element became major, and this is the effect, this is the result. So likewise, all the elements can act, or they are acting at every moment of our life, around us, within us, outside us, but we just see the result if we pay some attention. So what is said here is, within 2 sticks, in olden times there were no matchsticks, there were no lighters, so they used to do arani manthana to ignite fire. So they used to have a tool like what is it called? We call it khandani, which we can use to put some object in that pot and use a stick kind of tool to just crush it. So this element, this tool is very similar. It may look like a drill. So the bottom part is like a vessel. On top of that, a stick is put, and using strings, it is kind of churned. So with that process, they would put some grass in that vessel, and this process would create fire. So out of wood, they would create fire, and that fire is used for all the yagnas and havans and all. You may find some videos in YouTube also. Many people have started doing that. It is called Arani Manthana. So Manthan is churning. So Arani is wood, cast. So how does that fire come into existence from wood? Fire was already there, and that now came into existence, is what is said. So fire resides in every object. The 2 sticks of Arani Manthan, the fire already exists, but we need a process to come or to get that in our interaction, to our observation. So fire is already there. Similarly, what is said here is we must guard that fire within all of us. Now that fire within us is not the cellular level fire. Now the different meaning of fire here. The fire that is considered Atman, ourself. Now that is, we have seen before that it is considered to be a flame of the size of a thumb. So that flame is our Atman, our inner self, and that is considered fire. So now the physical fire becomes a subtle fire, the fire that represents our being. Now that fire needs to be guarded like a fetus within a pregnant woman. So for a pregnant woman, the most important part of the body is fetus. No matter what happens, the woman, the mother will protect that fetus, the child. Similarly, we must protect that fire within us, meaning for us that must be primary, that must be the most important thing in this universe or in our existence. We must well regard that, and we must see whatever we do, how do we guard it? Basically, what we can do is nurture our body. Don't forget, there are many people do extreme penance, Hatha yogis and many other. We must not take that path. We are all living in this world, in the society, our families and all that. So that is not the path chosen for us, or majority of us. We must well guard our body, because that fire, Jata Veda Agni, the Atman, resides within us, and it must not leave this body. So we must well regard that. When should it leave? Shatam Jivema Sharadaha. Live 100 years, fulfill all your duties, and whatever your goals in life, at least fulfill all of those, and then think of going inward. Complete your duties, find your goal, and then leave the body. So till then, that fire must be well regarded, like a fetus of a pregnant woman. And this fire must be worshipped every day. So how can we worship that fire? We don't know that fire. We don't have any idea of where our Atma resides. We don't have any interaction with our Atma. So how do we worship? So here indirectly it is called dhyana. The process of dhyana is to go inward, take all the indriyas or senses inward using pratyahara, and try to look at what is within. So that is our worship. So this fire must be worshipped with dhyana every day. So this is the key of doing the practice. And we were talking about all the 4 aspects together, right? Bhagavad Gita, Gnana, Karma, Kriya and Bhakti. They are not separate paths. And adHyAya 4, 5, 6, 7, if we read together, it clearly says all 4 must be done together. Even adHyAya 12, Bhakti Yoga. The title of the chapter is Bhakti Yoga. But it does not talk about just bhakti, just devotion. What it says is, there is a, I forgot the number, but that shloka says, know yourself, and then you go on doing your deeds. Know yourself meaning we are on the path of gnana, knowledge. That path of knowledge or gnana is try to understand what your fire is, what your self is, what your Jata Veda Agni is. So that is Gnana Yoga. Now in the next half stanza, Krishna says, now offer all your deeds to me. That means that is path of Karma Yoga. Then Krishna says, and meditate upon yourself and devote yourself to me. That means Kriya and Bhakti. So all four must be done together. So that is not only just the path of Bhakti. Even chapter 18, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, the last one, Krishna says, surrender everything to me. Now surrender everything meaning your karma, your focus, your mind, your all the actions or activities in life. So again it is Gnan, Karma, Kriya, Bhakti. So we must have all these four, and if we do that every day, that is our worship, that is our bhakti or our devotion towards our fire that resides in the cave of heart, and we must do that every day.
Often it is said, often people say for Bhakti Yoga like Mirabai.
Right.
So then, for Karma Yoga like Janaka.
Right.
Or like Jnana Yoga Shankaracharya. So they are
Right.
all taking those paths.
Now let's take an example of Mirabai. Are we ready to go through all those steps Mirabai had to go through? We are not, right? We cannot just take poison and drink and leave everything to Krishna. We cannot do that. If we can do that, yes, that is path for us. Mira had to leave everything behind. Mira had to walk on the path. It's like a path of knives, right? We saw before that this path is like at night. Consider a path, a walkway full of all the knives. So you have to walk on that path. If you are ready to do that, do bhakti only. Janaka, he was a karma yogi. Now it is said Janaka is not only karma yogi, but he had elements of bhakti also. He is said to have a sword, double-edged sword, and he used to take one edge depending upon the situation. So he would do or follow karma, he would use or follow bhakti. He was a great devotee of Shiva, and we have seen many incidents in Ramayana. So he was devotee of Shiva, not only karma yogi. Shankaracharya, he has written many stotras that clearly show that he had element of bhakti also. We don't know much about his kriya, meaning the hatha yoga, ashtanga yoga, but we know one story that he was passing by a village and many disciples were following him, and when he stopped, somebody offered him a pot full of alcohol. He just imbibed that. All the disciples were shocked. They said, he is sannyasi, he is our guru, and he just took alcohol, and we must follow what Shankaracharya is doing. He is our guru, we must follow his actions. Shankaracharya knew what was happening. He didn't say a word. Next village, he stopped at ironsmith's place, and he was making some tools. He had molten iron lying there. Shankaracharya took that and drank molten iron. Disciples were shocked again. Should we follow his actions or not? Now Shankaracharya looked at them and said, until and unless you have some practices, until and unless you have excelled your physical body, don't do that. Do whatever I say. Don't do whatever I do. So he must have gone through some kriya also, and there are some stories about him leaving the body and entering the other body. So definitely he had mastered kriya also. Karma, I mean, he was above everything. So whatever or whoever character we take, they all have aspects of all the four: Gnan, Karma, Kriya, Bhakti. So, but one element is major. See, I am on the path of Bhakti, so my major characteristics or my major attributes would be of Bhakti. It does not mean I am not following Gnan, Karma and Kriya. Somebody would be on path of Kriya, but at the same time, some varieties of all the paths also. So we must have all four, and one can be major, the other can be minor. That is possible. Ninth shloka. Yataschodeti suryo astam yatra cha gacchati tan devaha sarve arpitastadu natyeti kaschana etadvaitat. From where the sun rises and where it goes upon setting, that is what the devas are intent upon, and no one goes beyond that. This indeed is that. So in this shloka, whatever our ancients knew about the space or universe around them that they could see, in that context, sun is above everything. Sun is the topmost entity. So for them, all the devas, sun is the central entity, and all the devas kind of follow Surya. Even though Surya rises from where? The question is from where the sun rises and where it goes upon setting. It does not mean they considered Earth as the center and sun revolving around it. Very next part of it says that what the devas are intent upon, and no one goes beyond that. So who are the devas? Just we saw all the Panch Mahabhutas, and actually 8 Mahabhutas, and things beyond that. And all of these, if we consider air, fire, water, earth, they all follow sun, because we all follow sun. So all the devas are following sun, and 33 Koti Devatas, we'll say in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, but in briefly, they are kind of 8 Vasus, the beholder of all the universe, the elements, all that. 11 Adityas, 12 Adityas. Adityas are months of the calendar months, right? So these are 12 Adityas. Rudras, 11 Rudras, they are something without them the life would not exist, like our prana. So we have Pancha Prana, so they are considered Rudras. So like that, there are 11 elements, without them the life cannot sustain. Life will cease to exist. So these are Rudras. So likewise, these are all the elements that we see around us, and we are kind of enveloped by all these, and we follow sun, and we cannot go beyond sun, and that's what is mentioned here. In Rigveda also, at many places, it is clearly mentioned that earth and other, they don't use word graha or nakshatra directly, but what they say is everything is bound by sun like a string. That's the word they use, and everything with that string, invisible string, everything follows sun. So that is what is said in Rigveda. 10th shloka. Yadeveha tadamutra yadamutra tadanviha mrutyoho sa mrutyum apnoti ya iha naneva pashyati. What is here is there. What is there indeed is here. He who perceives the difference proceeds from death to death. Now, some cryptic words again. What is here is there. When we say what is here, here is within us, or whatever we are, our existence, it is there. So yatha pinde tatha brahmande. So whatever is within us, that fire, that Agni, that Jataveda Agni, or that self, is everywhere. And what is there indeed is here. So whatever we are searching outside, when we say, oh God, and we point upwards, right? But God is not upward, it's within. So what is there is within. He who perceives the difference proceeds from death to death. So again, very important thing. If we see the difference, meaning what is here is what is there, and what is there is here. If we differentiate between these two, then we follow the cycle of birth and death. But once we observe, once we experience that there is no difference, then we are above the cycle. Then we are beyond the cycle. So, in very short, very cryptic words, but very simple.
So there means outside our body. I mean, what does there mean?
There means outside, outward, and here is within. So whatever is within is outside, and whatever is outside is within. See, we experience 3 dimensions, right? We can also experience 4th dimension, time. It is going forward, backward. Very interestingly, we all use smartphones, and we all use directions. That direction is based on our position, and that position is determined by some satellites 28 to 30,000 kilometers above. Those satellites, they are moving at certain speed, GPS satellites. So the GPS satellites, compared to the Earth station, meaning our phone is on the Earth. Compared to our phone, those satellites move 37 microsecond forward in time. Always, they are 37 microsecond. Every second, they are 37 microsecond ahead of us in time. So they are kind of in future. So what we see up is in future. But they adjust that time in their calculation. And that's how we get accurate position at every second. So that means what they are saying is what we perceive here versus there, right? These are dimensions. Now when we go beyond 4 dimensions, many physicists claim that there are 11 dimensions. Theoretically, it is possible to have 11 dimensions, and they say that the dimensions beyond 4, they are not outward, they are inward. They collapse. That's what they say. Maybe 5th dimension can still be outward, but beyond that, all the dimensions, they all come inward. So what does that mean? I mean, what we see around us, that whole world collapses within us if we go beyond 4 or 5 dimensions. That means whatever is within us is the center of the universe. And there is a very famous mantra, Swasti no Indra Vruddhashavaha. All of us might have heard, right? In all the auspicious ceremonies, we recite that. And in that, there is a word Arishta Nemi. So Arishta Nemi is chakra, cycle, or will. And Arishta meaning without boundary. So it is the will without boundary. And at multiple places, it is mentioned that this will of the universe is such that every being is the center, and there is no perimeter, or the perimeter is infinite. So that is Arishta Nemi. So if we compare all this, meaning what is said in our scriptures and physics, what they discovered, so whatever is beyond our perception, that is basically within. And that's why our journey must go within, not outside. because we cannot cross even our solar system. Takes years, let alone traversing galaxies. And people talk about many imaginary words like hyperspace and all that in Star Wars and all, right? That we can cross galaxies and all that. But there is very easy route, which is within. So if we know how to control, I haven't done that, I have heard that. So if we know what is within, now we get to know other dimensions, and now we can step into any place in the universe, because the third dimension world collapses, or four, or at five dimension world collapses into other dimensions within. So if we know, if we perceive other dimensions, we can go anywhere in the world, like Narad Rishi. Devarshi could go anywhere at will. And even Yoga Vasishtha, there is a very interesting story about one king. I forgot his name, but Guru Vasishtha explains the parallel universes to Rama. And he mentions that, like our universe, there are multiple, and you will find yourself in multiple universes, but you are one, and you will be doing multiple activities at different places. Right now you are listening what I am saying, but in other universe you will be doing some other work. But it does not mean you exist differently, you are still the same. So he was explaining that in Yoga Vasishtha, and he explained about this concept via a story that king, he kind of was in a coma, and in that coma he could cross the boundaries of the physical world, and he could go into a different universe where he saw his kingdom with different wives, and he was experiencing all that. And then he got killed there, and he came back to his present universe. So this is how it is mentioned in Yoga Vasishtha. So tapping into all those dimensions is possible if we conclude from these stories.
So the adHyAya, can you tell in different words? I mean, it's a circle without, it's the wheel without boundaries, but what is that? So it means like all of us are on that wheel, or what is
No, we are the wheel. We see different people right here, me versus you, but we are, okay, let's take an example. It's a very well-known example in quantum physics. There is an aquarium. In aquarium there is a fish, just one fish, but the aquarium has cameras at multiple places. There are total 6 sides, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So there are 6 cameras, and they are watching constantly how that fish moves in the aquarium. So one camera sees fish going from right to left, the other camera will see it as from left to right. Topward it will see that fish moving in different direction. The front one will see a dot getting bigger and bigger. The other side will see dot from big to going small. So it's the same fish, just one fish, but all the cameras see it differently. So we are like those. It is said how we came into existence, when that one thought of creating this universe, it reflected multiple in the mirror of Maya. So Maya is again unmanifested energy of God, Supreme Being, and it is like mirror, and in that mirror that one appeared, see, like candle in the center and multiple mirrors around it. They all will have reflection of the same candle, and they all exist as different. I mean, they are different mirrors, right? So they exist differently. So now imagine that mirror is Maya, and that Maya has reflection of just one candle, that is Supreme Being. But because of Maya, because of that mirror, the reflection of that candle thinks that I am different. I am different from the candle, I am different from other candles. So we both think that we exist differently. I am Chirag, you are, right? You are different from me. Once we know our inner nature, once we know our whatever that fire, Jata Veda within us, once we know that, once we have that experience, then we'll stop seeing us differently. So we all are the center of that wheel. But there is no perimeter. That means that circle is without any perimeter, which is, or you can say it is infinite. The perimeter is infinite. So we, because of Maya, we exist differently. In an ocean, there are multiple waves, right? Now every wave thinks that I am different entity. I exist as a different wave. True, for a period, yes, you exist as a different wave, but ultimately you all are part of the same ocean. You are the ocean. You are not different from the ocean. Now that ocean is very vast or big entity, but this entity which is within us is smaller than the smallest we can imagine, and that, or it is beyond our perceived dimensions, so we cannot see it. But once we see it by worshipping every day, meaning dhyan, jnana, karma, kriya, bhakti, do that every day. So one day Krishna has given us blessings. Keep practicing and I will grant you. So we cannot say he or she, but Krishna will decide one day that okay, you are worthy of having that experience or that observation. And once that experience is there, you cease to exist. Even though your body may exist, but you cease to exist, meaning you and I are one, or everything is one. So this is again more of an experiential thing. We cannot, I mean, we describe, we have many examples, but unless and until we experience that, there is no use.
So Anishthanemi, in what you said is meaning that the Atman that's in us
Right.
is actually infinite because it's the same as the Atman outside us.
Yes.
So that's why the without boundaries.
Correct. So whatever exists around us, within us, is the same. We just see it as differently.
And why chakra?
Because that's the best example. Because chakra has boundary, right? And can we imagine a chakra without a boundary? No. That's why this example is taken.
Okay, not for any rotation.
Right? No. There is nothing churning within.
There's
Yes.
another concept I read recently,
Sure.
where they're measuring the universe, right? So there's
Right.
a Big Bang, there's a, it will all expand so far that everyone would be isolated, right? So we
Right.
won't see anything because everything will be so far apart.
Right.
So then suddenly they realized that we are at the center of the universe, or it seems like to us when we look
Right.
around,
Right.
because the speed of light can only see so far.
Correct.
Beyond that we cannot see.
Right.
We cannot perceive. So
Right.
to that effect, even the one at the corner,
Right.
the circle, the universe kind of has a
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yes.
everyone has
Yes.
the same boundary,
Right.
and everyone is sitting at the center of
Right.
the universe. Because
Very
they
true.
cannot see beyond the speed of
Correct.
light.
We don't know the boundary.
Yeah.
So for us, it's the globe, right? Three-dimensional globe, and we are at the center.
Right.
Very true. Yes.
So we were trying to find out what's the edge of the universe.
Right.
Then suddenly they realized, oh, we are all at the center.
We are at the center. Yes. Right. Yeah. So very right. Very right. So again, that perception that we are everything is the center, without boundary.
Yeah, when you don't have boundary, everyone has the
Right.
center.
Correct.
So it's a color.
Yes.
Because there's a boundary, you are at the center of that boundary.
Of that
But
boundary.
without
Yes.
that boundary, everyone is at the center.
Correct. And that's why this word Arishthanemi,
They are realizing it very recently. I mean, earlier they were thinking there's a edge of the universe.
Right.
Then they realized, oh, it doesn't make sense.
This is exactly what I was talking to my son 3 days back. He is student of physics, so he is more into theoretical aspects of all this. So I was explaining our rishis, they did some penance, they did some whatever tools they had, we all know that, and using those tools they get to know the universe, and by just sitting here they would see what is beyond the human perception, and they just wrote down all the results. Now you can cross reference, cross check also. One person doing that sadhana would get to know it, the other person also get to know the same result. That means the result is right. And we did not write theories or descriptions. And now modern science is again using the modern tools with great details arriving to the same conclusions. So we know the conclusions, but we did not have the method to reach there that everybody can perceive, right? There were Ashtasiddhis. They could see everything beyond perception, but everybody couldn't do that because it takes years to achieve that siddhi. Whereas take the telescope, point somewhere, and you get to know that. So it has become simple now. It has become very accessible to many people. So that's the difference between modern science and our philosophical methods, what our shastras say. But we both arrive to the same conclusion ultimately, or kind of, because the words cannot justify everything. We have to take or try to understand what it means. So Arishtanemi, Jain would say that, oh, this is talking about Neminath. But no, I mean, that is interpretation. But if we look at the whole mantra, then what it is talking about. In that sense, Arishtanemi is what we discussed. So Kaustubh Bhai has joined us today. Thank you. 11th shloka. Manasai vedam aptavyam neha nana asti kinchana mrutyoho sa mrutyum gacchati ya iha naneva pashyati. This can indeed be grasped via the mind. There is no otherness at all. He who perceives the difference proceeds from death to death. Again, everything is the same. If you perceive it as different, you will be bound by the cycle of death and birth. So if our observation tells us that there is no other, it's just one, it's just our mind thinking of us as different, will bind us in the cycle of death and birth. So we must go beyond that. Now it is talking about self. 12th shloka. Anshtamatrah purusho madhya atmani tishtati ishanam bhuta bhavyasya na tato vijugupsate etadvaitat. The consciousness is the size of a thumb and stands established in the middle of the body. He who knows him as the Lord of the past and the future has no need to shrink from anyone. This indeed is that. So Angushtamatra, that size which resides in the cave of the heart, which is not the physical heart but Anahata Chakra, which is at the center of the rib cage, at center of the body, you can say. So if we try to focus our mind in that region, ultimately our mind will find something, and that something is beginning of our journey towards inward, and we must worship that every day. We must do that every day, or at least try to find what is there. So we all know about Kundalini and 7 chakras, and we all talk about going upward, right, in all the chakras. But we miss very important aspect, which is only known to Guru Parampara traditions, it is not written. But Guru Parampara says that once we reach the 7th Sahasrara, the next step is to go to Anahata. It's like taking a loop. So from 1st to 7th chakra, and again go back to Anahata. Because once you reach Sahasrara, your mind opens. Once your mind opens up, then you can see things beyond. And what is the ultimate stop? That is within Anahata chakra. So again you need to come back. So many people say that, okay, let's follow, don't go in all the 7 steps, just directly go to heart, Anahata chakra. That is also possible, and I think it is a better path also for majority of us, because anything beyond this is a sure shot for many struggles in life, physically, mentally, socially. So better to go directly in Anahata chakra, and that will make us free from all the struggles. So I think it's almost time, we can stop here. 12th shloka. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi.